Hey everyone, we are going to get started here in a few minutes for our pop-up live Q&A all about how to advance your career if you've already been working in user experience for a while. So if you have questions, make sure to put them in the comments section, and I'm going to get to as many as I can in the next 30 minutes or as long as my voice holds up. I'm just getting over a really bad cold or something, so I'm going to do my best to make it through the 30 minutes and answer all of your questions. I'm just going to do a quick tech check on my other monitor to make sure that you can all see me, that this event is running. It looks like it is. Awesome. So in the comments, make sure that you put your questions here. I'm super excited to hang out with you, to answer your questions, and to help really bring some clarity to a lot of the noise that you experience on social media, in your inbox, on podcasts, all of the places regarding what to do, what not to do, concerning advancing your career. I know it can be really confusing. I know there's a lot of advice out there, but not all that advice is rooted in research. A lot of it is just opinion, right? And so I want to give you some really actionable strategies based on what I've seen working with the people in my career coaching programs, and what I see on the hiring side when I talk to and check in with recruiters and hiring managers and things like that. So while everyone is joining, let's have everyone just briefly tell us where you are from and what your kind of career stage is. Are you a switcher? Are you climbing or growing your existing career? Or are you at the very beginning of your career, kind of launching things? So let us know in the chat, and I'm going to get to some questions in a few minutes. I just have to check to make sure this is also streaming on YouTube, because I have this fancy software that lets us go simultaneously to both places. All right, looks like we are. Awesome. The other thing before we get started that I wanted to mention to you is that next Thursday, I am going to be teaching a free workshop all about how to, and kind of ironically, apply UX and product design principles and strategies to your career. Because here's the thing. I think it's really, really ironic that many of you spend all day in your job studying, learning, doing for your current company. You're UXing their product. You're doing research. You're doing strategy. You're thinking about UX writing and content and all of the details that make up an experience and that create an experience that keeps people's attention, that gets them interested in whatever that company does or that page does or that part of the experience. And you're trying to get them to take some action, whether that's stay on the page, read an article, watch a video, sign up for a free trial, etc., right? You're UXing that in your job all day long. The thing is, you don't apply that same strategy, the same research, the same thinking around the content and everything. You do not apply that to your career. Did you actually do research regarding your resume? Like, did you think of the users? Did you approach writing the content of your resume through the same lens that you would approach, writing the content for a web page if you're, say, a UX writer or content strategist? If you're a researcher, did you consider the users of your resume? That's what I mean when I say it's really ironic that so many of you UX stuff all day long in your job and you don't do it for your career and for your career materials, your resume, your portfolio, your LinkedIn, cover letters, heck, even emails. Like, you say people don't reply to your cold emails and your LinkedIn messages, etc. Well, did you write a good message? Did you think about their needs, their interests? Or did you just write like a 1,000 word email telling your whole life story, to that busy person? No wonder they didn't reply, right? So that is what we're going to talk about next Thursday at this workshop. How to apply product strategy to your career. So if you want to join us for that workshop, just go to careerstrategylab.com/live workshop. Altogether, live workshop. I will put it in the chat here so you can just click it, hopefully. I think I have to put https:// oops. I can't talk and type. All right, that is next week's workshop. And RSVP 4. All right, we're dropping that in there. Let me dump it on YouTube also. And then I'm going to get to your questions. I see some of you have been putting questions in here. All right, we have people from all over the place: Seattle, Canada, Arizona, Edmonton, another Canada, Peru. I have not been to Peru. Roma's from the Bay Area. Ooh, someone else from Northwestern Ontario. Ironically, I've spent a lot of time in Northwestern Ontario. Sudbury, where else? Sault Ste. Marie. Someone from the Netherlands. All right, so what are your questions? Let's go back here and see. Abigail wants to know, what advice do I have for landing a first job in user experience as a junior designer? Okay, so it depends a little bit about your situation, Abigail. So if you are coming into user experience from another field, which I see so much of this, whether it's occupational therapists, teachers, nurses, journalists, etc. If you're one of those people, then the thing that you need to think about is, how in your previous job have you been doing UX related things without the job title of UX designer, UX researcher, etc. And then you need to make sure that your, for example, bullet points in your resume really highlight those things. You could potentially even have a project in your portfolio, even though it wasn't, an official UX project. Let's say you are a teacher and you did research related to something. Maybe you were like working on some curriculum or creating a new course or something to do with like student outcomes or something, and you did research. Even though that was research for your teaching job, I think you could still put that in your portfolio as a research project. So that is something to think about, Abigail. The other thing I would say, especially for career switchers, is consider staying in the industry that you are switching from. So if you're a teacher, think about staying in the learning, education, etc. industry and looking for a job, a UX job in those industries. So where would you look for a job? Well, masterclass.com, Udemy, Khan Academy, all of these like online learning platforms, even universities. Southern University of New Hampshire hires UX people, I noticed quite frequently. University of Phoenix, like there's so many universities that are hiring UX people. So a nurse, same thing. Even if you really want to get out of healthcare in the future, it could serve you in the short term to look for a UX role in healthcare, because guess what? If 50 people apply for the UX position at the hospital or health insurance company or something, and you are the candidate who has 10 years of experience as a nurse, guess which candidate might stand out more than others? You, because you are going to have that domain knowledge, that expertise of the health industry that other candidates who have never worked in healthcare but have done UX, you're going to stand out because of that. So that's one thing to think about for people who are seeking their first UX job. The other thing that you should think about is how can you differentiate yourself from all of the other candidates. So here's what I mean. If you're a hiring manager and you're going through 100, 200 applicants, a lot of people who are just starting out all sound the same. They all describe themselves in a very similar fashion. And if you are someone who went to, a UX boot camp or something, it is possible that your projects could be very similar to the projects of other people. So 2 things to consider there. Number 1, concerning your portfolio and projects, in addition to things that you maybe did in your degree program or your boot camp or something, are there other projects you have worked on that you could include that are more unique to you? So did you notice a problem in your own life, in the real world, and took it upon yourself to turn that into a project? Include that. That's going to be much more unique than something that a recruiter or hiring manager has seen 20 other times this week, because boot camps and etc. recycle a lot of the same projects. Now, the other thing concerning how can you stand out in terms of how you describe yourself, you have to think of like your elevator pitch, right? How do you describe yourself to your potential, let's face it, customers, right? At the end of the day, companies are, shopping for candidates. So how do you stand out? You have to come up with a unique elevator pitch that is more interesting than, I'm Sarah. I want to create products that people love and change the world. Because that is what a lot of people's elevator pitches include. And after you, the hiring manager, read that over and over and over, they all sound the same. So think about revisiting your elevator pitch, about you statement, whatever you call that, and look at it and try and insert some things that are more specific to you. So back to that teacher and nurse example, I'm a UX designer with 10 years as an ICU nurse. Wow, that's interesting. Looking to leverage my UX skills to, improve the healthcare experience. Okay, that's interesting. That's unique. So, Abigail, I know that was a long answer, but I hope it gave everyone, regardless of what stage you're at, ideas to think about in terms of how you can create a tighter elevator pitch, what to do if you are switching careers, and how maybe to leverage the field that you previously worked in to serve as a stepping stone to get your foot into, in this case, UX. And then also what to think about concerning projects that you could put in your portfolio. All right, I am going to pull up the questions over here and see what else we have. And let's see, we are going to, I guess there's no way to mark things as answered. Okay, so let's see here. Abigail, maybe reply to your own question to let me know if that answered it for you. Let's see here. All right. Going through the questions. All right. Another question. What can you do to get the attention of recruiters and hiring managers? And are cold emails, frowned upon, or do they help? That's kind of summarizing the question here. Okay, so again, we have to think of the users, right? The recruiters and hiring managers. So let's think about what the purpose or role of a cold email or a message on LinkedIn could be in the job search, in your job search, right? Okay, so if you are a recruiter and hiring manager, you're looking at 20, 30, 100 people, candidates all day long, right? And as we just talked about earlier, all those candidates can kind of blur together eventually, right? And so if you're a candidate applying for a role and you know who is hiring for that position because maybe a couple of days ago you saw someone post on LinkedIn, hey, my company's hiring a UX researcher. Here's the link to the job description. Great. When you see those posts, that is like gold because you then know who the hiring manager is. You don't have to guess. It's right there. So in those situations, I would really recommend that you send that person a message. Now, before or after you apply, you could do it either way. Let's assume you're going to do it after you apply for the job. Now, what would you put in that message? Okay, here are a few things to think about. We want to capture their attention, and we want to capture enough of their attention that they are compelled to want to learn more about us. So what will not capture their attention? Let's think about that. A message that goes something like this. Hey, Sally, I saw you posted that role for a UX researcher last week. I just wanted to let you know I applied. Hope to hear from you soon. Okay. So is that going to capture Sally's attention? Not likely, because all you've told Sally is that you applied for the job. You didn't tell Sally anything about yourself. Sally knows nothing about you. And maybe Sally is going to go to your LinkedIn and look through it. But if she doesn't, Sally has no reason to kind of go find your application, look at your resume, and learn more about you. So instead, I would really use those cold emails, those LinkedIn messages as a way to really pitch yourself and shine a spotlight on one or two things about you that you think are the most relevant to the job you just applied for. So let's imagine, let's go back to one of our examples from the beginning. Let's imagine you are a nurse. You were a nurse. You're going to get into user experience. Sally works at a hospital and is hiring a UX researcher. Great. What would you say to Sally? Hey, Sally, saw you posted the UX researcher role last week. Wanted to let you know I applied. I previously worked as an ICU nurse for 10 years and have recently switched into user research. Guess what? Sally's attention is probably instantly sparked because Sally, you just told Sally you worked as an ICU nurse for 10 years. Is that relevant to Sally, who works at the hospital, who's hiring the researcher? Absolutely. So that's what I mean when I say, think about what you can extract from your existing experience. Tell people one or two things about you that are going to capture their attention. And that is how you are going to increase the chances that A, people pay attention to you, and B, maybe even engage with you in those messages, actually reply to you. Because so many times, and I know maybe you see this too, a lot of people on LinkedIn and social media and elsewhere love to really get mad at recruiters and hiring managers for ghosting them, for not replying, for all of these things, right? Well, okay, but did the message you sent them, like, give them enough information or reason or spark enough interest to have them even take time to reply to you. Because if you just said, hey, Sally, I saw the job you posted last week, wanted to let you know I applied, hope to hear from you. Well, okay, Sally's like, thanks for letting me know. Like, she doesn't need to reply, right? Whereas if you say, I'm an ICU nurse, I've been ICU nurse for 10 years, recently got into UX research, excited to, use my healthcare knowledge to, improve your hospital or whatever. That gives Sally something to latch her like attention onto. And she might be like, oh, wow, tell me more about like what made you decide to switch from, nursing to research. It's really interesting. And it might spark a conversation. And that's how you stand out. All right. I know that was a long answer. I hope that was helpful for some of you. Again, regardless of what career stage you're at, I think you could apply those tips, especially if you are trying to get people to reply to cold emails or messages. Well, are you sending them a quality message to begin with, right? Okay, let's go to more questions. My voice is holding up, so I think we're in good shape for now. Okay, so let's see. Selma said, does a master's degree really matter in our career? And if yes, is it the MBA or an arts better? So, my opinion, and based on what I've seen with the people who get hired in my career coaching program, I would say that having a master's is not required. I think that having relevant experience can be just as valuable. And I say that because not everyone has the time or money to pursue a master's degree. I remember thinking years ago, I needed to get an MBA in order to further my career in user experience. And I thought about it and I thought about it. And then for me, the decision really came down to, do I want to like incur all this debt to get an MBA, not to mention all of the time, or would my time be better spent just doing and learning more user experience and gaining skills through working on projects and things like that? So that's the route I took, and that's how I thought about it. I definitely do not think it is a requirement. Will you see job descriptions that say you need to have a master's degree? Yes. Is that representative of all the jobs out there? Absolutely not. So, Selma, I hope that gives you some things to think about if you are thinking through whether or not that is something you want to kind of pursue in your career advancement. All right, let me go to the questions here, see what else we have. Okay, so, Valentina is a pharmacist, worked in pharmacy for 10 years, and this world is totally new to you. Okay, you are like our case study. I'm so excited. Yes, Valentina. Okay. Valentina's worked in pharmacy for 10 years. If Valentina wanted to get into user experience, like there are so many health companies, that pharmacy company that Mark Cuban just created, I bet they have hired in the past or will be hiring UX people in the future. I was a big user of PillPack when that first came out, gosh, like almost 10 years ago, I think. They were ultimately purchased by Amazon, but what made them incredible was their user experience, right? If you're not familiar, PillPack was like, I think, if memory serves me correctly, the kind of first company that you sent them your like prescriptions, medical prescriptions, and then they would send you this beautiful little box in the mail with all of your pills in little plastic pouches, measured out for each day. And it was such an incredible user experience. And of course, they had a great website and it was easy to manage and all that stuff. So, Valentina, that is a great example. Like PillPack, now a part of Amazon, etc. If we want to improve the user experience of healthcare, we cannot just have people who are experts in user experience. We also need people who know stuff about healthcare, right? Like my sister is a nurse, and she has said so many times like how difficult and the electronic medical record software is, at the charting station, at the nurse's station, or beside the bedside, or even like the interfaces where they program IVs and stuff like that. And it would be very valuable to have some people who not only do UX, but also have that knowledge. So Valentina, I love the future for you, because it's so exciting to kind of take your prior career and combine it with this new interest that you have. Awesome. Okay. Let's see here. A couple of more questions. So Olga said, you're switching careers. Oh, a lot of switchers. This is fun. You're transitioning your previous role in marketing leadership, and you have a bunch of qualifications and a UX certification. You're uncertain whether you should apply for junior positions or if you can get mid-level positions. So here's the thing. The difference between mid and junior levels, I believe that is going to vary from company to company. And so there are no rules that say you must have, X years of experience to apply for a mid-level role, let's say. So unfortunately, this is one of those situations where it's going to depend on each job description. The one thing I will tell you is that if, for example, you find a job and it says 3 years of experience, and you don't have 3 years of experience, in official UX role, I would not let that limit you from applying, because we have to think of job descriptions more like guardrails and not an exact list where you need to meet every single thing listed on that job description. And so if you meet, a bunch of other things on that job description and you have 2 years of experience or 1 year of experience, you could very well stand out. The thing is, you're going to want to make sure that you highlight the experience you do have really well. And that could be in a cover letter, that could be in a cold email, just like, that example we talked about a few minutes ago. But I think it's really going to depend on the role. And especially, you said you're coming from a marketing leadership position. So let's say you're applying to a job at some company that makes some marketing software, a social media scheduling tool like later.com, for example, just for demonstration purposes. Okay. So because you've worked in marketing leadership for a while already, maybe you could get hired into a mid-level role at a marketing type company or marketing software company, because you're going to have that kind of domain expertise and knowledge that could help you kind of leapfrog over that junior role and get into that mid-level role. So Olga, I think I would apply to junior and mid-level. Give yourself 3 weeks, apply to a bunch of roles, and treat it as an experiment and see what happens. And then you'll know. Yeah. All right, we're getting close to time here, so I'm going to choose a couple of more. Let's see. Let's see here. Anna wants to know, for people switching careers, do I recommend to mention a lot of things in the resume about your past background, or is it better to present yourself, as fresh and kind of leave your previous experience in the past. You need to leverage your previous experience. And so I don't know your specific background, but hopefully based on what we talked about so far today, you might be able to be thinking differently about your previous experience and situations where you were doing UX related things, whatever that means, whether you do research or strategy or writing, whatever it is, and be realizing, even though I didn't have a UX in my job title 3 years ago, the things I was doing 3 years ago are really relevant. So I would not just delete everything on your resume prior to today and start fresh, because part of what you want to show also is, if you have a 10-year previous working history, that's showing me skills like communication, teamwork, follow through, problem solving, all of these things that help make you a well-rounded professional and that are going to help you succeed in whatever you do next, versus someone that is seeking their first job ever, ever, and they've never worked in kind of a real job before, let's say. They're not only needing to do their job of UX or research or whatever it is, they are also needing to figure out how do I have difficult conversations and deal with difficult stakeholders and communicate effectively and all of these things. So Anna, that's why I think you should keep all of that previous stuff on your resume. All right. Let's see what else. David wants to know strategy for returning to work, and to overcome the applicant tracking system. Yes, so applicant tracking system. This is basically the word that is used to refer to software that companies use to manage candidates. So if you're hiring candidates, you're going to have potentially hundreds of applicants, right? Companies use software to manage this. So all the information is in one place. One thing I want to be really clear about is that the applicant tracking systems are not robo-rejecting people. Ultimately, there is a human on the other side of that applicant tracking system that is deciding, are you going to get the interview or not? Are you going to get to the next interview or not, right? So in order, though, to make sure that the applicant tracking system can actually, what's the right way to say this? Can understand who you are and what you do as a candidate. How it works is when you apply for a job, you're uploading your resume and all that stuff. And then the applicant tracking system is going through and reading, parsing, analyzing, whatever word you want to use, your resume. And the thing is, there are certain things you need to do and avoid in your resume if you want the ATS to be able to understand that information. So this is why, for example, it is not recommended that your resume have 2 columns when you're uploading it and applying for a job through the applicant tracking system. I teach a whole course on resumes, and this is a large part of what we do in that course. So we can't cover the whole thing, but that would be the number one thing. If you are applying for jobs with a 2-column resume, stop doing that. That could be a major hindrance to you having the visibility you want to have inside that applicant tracking system. That'll be my number one tip for you, David. Also, if you go to, I don't have the exact URL here, but I'll just link you to the articles page on my website. But let me just reply here. I have a bunch of articles about resumes, and you can find them on this page. page with resume articles. Just do a search for resumes once you get to that page and you'll find them. That may be helpful for you. Okay. I don't know where that comment went. Hopefully it went somewhere. I hit enter and I don't know where it went. Okay, let's do it again. And then search the page for resume. Oh, I see. There it is. Okay. Let's see. I think we have time for 2 more questions. So, Rashali wants to know, you have 8 years of experience in interior design. Will this be considered by recruiters and hiring managers? Absolutely. You have a lot of great design experience, and many of the things that made you a great interior designer will make you a really great product or UX designer. So I would not delete that part of your resume, similar to the previous question. You know, skills like understanding balance and hierarchy and alignment and focal points and like all these things that go into making a great physical space, those principles can still apply to a website, an app, a kiosk, etc. And so that could be seen as an asset. Also, something to think about, maybe you can look for UX positions at companies that have to do with interior design. Software, there's tons of interior design software and startups and stuff that you might want to check out. So that's my tip for you. Okay, Jenny, last question. You are a stay-at-home mom for 6 years. Should you not mention that in your resume or interviews? Back then, you were told not to bring that up, that you have kids during job interviews. Not sure if that's still relevant today. Can I extract, let's see, I'm just trying to summarize this question. You were a kinder teacher aide for 7 years, but it didn't mention the 6 year not working. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to find an article I'm going to link you to. So LinkedIn recently, well, not recently, in 2022, launched a feature called Career Breaks. Okay, I'm putting it in the chat for you. This is important because I feel like if LinkedIn added a feature that lets you put a career break in your work history section, and they did this based on a ton of research they did, then that says to me, we have now normalized the idea of having gaps on our resume for whatever reason. And when you go to LinkedIn and add a career break, you're going to see all the options. And it says things like, caregiving, taking care of family. I forget all of them, but there are a lot of reasons. And you also don't have to give a reason. But I think, Jenny, don't feel like you need to worry what people are going to think if you have a gap in your resume. And I would just call it career break, plain and simple. But that article is going to help you a lot and give you some ideas. And the fact, like I said, that LinkedIn did this research and then launched this feature so you can add a career break to your profile, to me indicates it's like giving everyone permission to not be so worried and have so much concern and sometimes shame around having a gap or break in their work experience. All right, that is all the time we have for today, everyone. So a couple of quick announcements here. Don't forget, next Thursday, February 15, I'm teaching a live workshop all about how to apply UX and product principles and strategies to advance your career. Getting into how do we do this for our resume, for our portfolio, for interviews, for cold messages, for all of these things. So that's what we're going to do next Thursday. The workshop is totally free. It'll be recorded. If you can't make it live, then we will send out an RSVP or a recording to everyone who RSVPs. So you can RSVP for next week's workshop at www.careerstrategylab.com/live workshop. Let me make sure I spelled that right. Yep. All right. So that is what's happening next Thursday. And then there must be a delay because I know I hit enter and it hasn't popped up yet. But hopefully you guys got that URL. I guess I'll do it again just in case. And then the other thing, can't type and talk. Shop. Okay. The other thing, a couple of you were sending me private messages. What is this career coaching you do? So yeah, I run something called Career Strategy Lab, and I've been doing this since 2021, but really since 2017 is when I got into this world of UX career coaching. 2021 is when I launched something called Career Strategy Lab, and it is a career coaching program where we help you do what we just said we're going to do at this live workshop next week. Apply UX product strategies to your career so you can advance, whether that means getting a promotion, getting a new job, or you're not looking for a job, but you just want to be ready in case unexpected opportunities come your way. So we cover resumes, portfolios, LinkedIn, job search, interviews, and most importantly, the very first thing we do inside Career Strategy Lab is help you create a career roadmap. You know, similar to products that have roadmaps, your career needs a roadmap too. So that's what we do. And it's a 3-month program. So if you're interested in that, just go to careerstrategylab.com and you will see a little link to apply. And that's how you can learn more about that. That is all the time we have for today. I'm going to try and do another live Q&A this week and next week. So if you don't follow me already, make sure you follow me on LinkedIn. And then you may not know this, but at the top of a profile, there's a bell icon. And if you click that bell, then it will give you like an instant notification when I go live. So that is all. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I will see you later this week and hopefully next Thursday. All right. Bye, everyone. See you later.